Wow.
And we're live with a man who needs no introduction, the legendary Jack Armstrong. How you doing?
Ben, I'm doing great. Pleasure to be on with you.
Great to have you. First off, Jack, I want to say thank you for all of the hellos and times you told me to take out my garbage.
Get that garbage out of here! Get that garbage out of here! Get that garbage out of here! Get that garbage out of here!
You're one of the reasons why I fell in love with the game of basketball. Growing up with you in my living room, you not only made me enjoy the game, you also helped teach me it. So for that, I say thank you.
Well, Ben, it's my pleasure, and I'm glad you enjoy watching the Raptors, and I hope I can do a decent job, and I'm glad that you're a big fan of it. I'm so excited about where the growth of basketball is across the country and how the Raptors fit into all that. Some really nice momentum right now for the sport.
Absolutely. So I decided to wear this old flannel today because I think my get that garbage out of here flannel got lost in the mail. So I was wondering, could you make a call to entropy for me so I have something stylish to keep me warm in the fall?
Well, I'm sure we can. hellojack.ca. That's the site. So
yeah, to anyone listening who wants some sweet Jack Armstrong merch, feel free, hit up hellojack.ca or, hellojack.entropyshirts.com.
All right. Thank you.
Of course. I hear you run every morning. So what's your morning run routine like?
I try to get out early when I can. I ran this morning. Today I only had a chance for 3 miles, but I try to do somewhere between 3 and 5 a morning. Usually, during this whole lockdown, I have probably been out almost every single day. I could probably count on one hand the days I've taken off. Actually, we were on a West Coast trip in late February, early March. And then from that point on, I've religiously run almost every day. I'm not going to lie to you, it's tough during maybe, January, February to run outside with ice and snow and all that. Well, if the road is clear, I'm out there. I'll wear the hat and gloves and all that. But I love it. I just think it's a great way to start your day on game days.
Of course.
In different cities or, wherever I am. I try to get out and it really helps me prepare for the game and kind of gather my thoughts. It's quiet time. I'll put a little music on. And other than that, I'm just kind of zoned out. I enjoy it because I think we all need that little peace and tranquility in our life. For me, running kind of brings me that, and it's good exercise as well.
It's definitely a great way to start your day. And of course, any sort of workout to start your day in the morning, I feel like it always kickstarted in the best way possible. So I know COVID might affect this answer, but do you still run 2-3 half marathons a year?
Unfortunately, because of the COVID, no.
Yeah.
I feel very confident right now that if you said to me, hey, you're going to run a half marathon next week, I feel pretty comfortable that I can do it.
Nice.
I feel like I'm in the kind of running shape, at least, to do it. Marathon, I don't think I'm at a point yet where I feel like I'm ready to do that. I would love to do another one. I've done 7. I've done New York 4 times.
Wow.
Chicago twice, and the last one I did was Boston. I think it would have been 2001. But I haven't done one in a long time, raising 3 kids, and you got to put a lot of time in training for a marathon. So I would love to do another one someday. But I feel comfortable right now. If you said, hey, you're going to run a 10K or a half marathon or something like that, then I could go out and do it. So I love it. It's fun. And, usually at the end of the race, there's a cold beer waiting for me. So that's all good.
That's awesome. You mentioned you listen to music on your runs. What music do you listen to?
Oh, man, I'm all over the map. I'm sure you've heard Matt bust my chops a lot on the air.
What's up, man?
You're looking good, Jack.
I got my Huskies gear on. I'm getting down in Chi-Town. How about it, Matty D? Huh? Touching me, touching you.
But I do. I listen to like the Beatles, the Stones, Bob Dylan, Frank Sinatra, Bruce Springsteen, Van Morrison, Elton John, Billy Joel, Eric Clapton, David Bowie, Led Zeppelin, all that kind of stuff. That's kind of like my music. That's
your vibe.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Since we're on the subject of music, what can you tell me about Sonny Bono and a game in New Jersey?
Wow. You've got a great memory. That's one of the most embarrassing moments in my career. We're playing in the Meadowlands. The song by Cher comes up, Do You Believe in Love? And that particular year, I cannot remember the year, that song literally in every single arena during one of the timeouts was played, probably the number one hit at that time. So we're coming back from break, and I said to Chuck, here it is again. Here we are in the Meadowlands in New Jersey. I don't know if the Raptors were up 30 or down 30. It was not a good game. And we're just, kind of having some fun. And I just said, every arena we go to, I have to listen to that song. The only thing worse would be having to listen to Sonny and Cher or Sonny Bono's solo. And Chuck, almost has a coronary on the air. He looks at me like, well, I don't think that'll happen. I said, well, why not? He goes, well, Sonny Bono's no longer with us. And I was like, well, where did he go? He said, well, Jack, he died. I said, what do you mean he died? I didn't know he died. I think he had a skiing accident, if I'm not mistaken, or something like that.
I believe so.
Here we are on live television, and I had no idea that Sonny had passed away. Meanwhile, I'm busting his chops about his music, or him and Cher, Sonny and Cher. So I just said, well, my deepest condolences to the Bono family on Sonny's passing. I apologize, I didn't know that. But that's the beauty of live television. And many times, for me personally, it's unscripted. We have a producer and director, and they do an amazing job. And they'll tell us sometimes, hey, we're coming back from break with this read or this promo and all that. Obviously, that's scripted. But there are other times where you're just kind of rolling. And that was one of those impromptu moments that I made a complete fool of myself, which I happen to do quite often.
Jack, you're too modest. But it's a testament to your ability to kind of think on the fly, and then you just roll with the punches. Beautiful thing about live TV. There's a significant difference in talent level between college and NBA. The best college teams tend to be the ones with the most league-bound talent. You used to be a college coach yourself, 26 years old, one of the youngest in Division I history. What was it like beating a team with 4 future NBA players at St. John's in Madison Square Garden?
It was remarkable. It's probably the best win of my career. I grew up in New York. Madison Square Garden, as they say, is the Mecca. I coached a lot of games in there as an assistant coach at Fordham because we would play a few times a year. We played North Carolina and Notre Dame and people like that, Marquette, a few of the bigger name schools to come in and play at the Garden, St. John's. So to beat St. John's, and they had Zendon Hamilton, Felipe Lopez, Ron Artest, who's mental peace now, and LeVar Postel, and they all went on and played in the NBA, different instances. And we didn't have any NBA players, but it was just one of those nights. We played out of our minds, and I'll never forget a Niagara alum who is a very legendary basketball figure, Hall of Famer, who still is on television, UB Brown. UB played at Niagara in the 50s, and UB sat right behind our bench during that game. So it was pretty cool. And we played out of our minds. As a New York kid, to have your mom and your brothers and all your family and my wife and her family and all the kids, and it was just a magical night, and everybody celebrated like crazy. The only guy that didn't celebrate was me, because I had to go back to my hotel room. We were playing Princeton the next night in the finals of the Holiday Festival, and Princeton at that time was ranked in the top 10 in college basketball. So we went from beating a team with 4 NBA players to the next night having to play a top 10 team in Princeton. So everyone else is out having a great time, and I'm in my hotel room till 3 and 4 in the morning watching tape. But I loved it. And it was a great experience. And to me, as I reflect on my career, you really enjoy moments like that, because I'm not going to lie to you, coaching's really hard. A lot of times we romanticize the great moments in our career and we forget about how hard it is. And I'll never forget Bobby Cremins, the former coach at Georgia Tech, said to me, he goes, Jack, coaching's really hard. As I mentioned, we all have a tendency to romanticize the great moments. It's hard. It's a lot of work. Nobody's ever happy. Somebody's always complaining. There's always a crisis. You're always putting out fires. It's a difficult life, and it's a lot of stress and strain on you personally and on your family. It was great. It was one of those moments I'll always enjoy and bring a smile to my face in a 14-year career as an NCAA Division I coach. It's an up and down roller coaster ride, but it builds character, that's for sure.
Absolutely. Do you ever miss it at all, or?
Actually, my first few years out, I did a little bit. I've been with the Raptors now 22 years, and I got hired by the Raptors in the fall of 98. That was the 98-99 lockout season, Vince Carter's rookie year. So I called Vince Carter's first game in Boston against another guy who's going to be in the Hall of Fame, and Paul Pierce, his rookie game. I had a year left on my contract at Niagara, so I said, I'm going to take a year off from coaching and then probably get back into it. I had so much fun that first year, so I'll try another year. And I was doing a lot of college basketball as well on off days from the Raptors, so I was working like crazy.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to Syracuse, New York, inside the Dome. Alongside Jack Armstrong, I'm Dave Pash. When they're making that comparison as well, get Syracuse off to a great start. Hello! Oh, my goodness! Look at this, right? This is how you seal inside. Perfect high-low, textbook, fundamental basketball. It's tough to crack the lineup when you got a guy like that. Draining jimmies.
But I was in a gym with coaches, with players, with executives, with scouts, with refs, and I was around basketball and I was getting my fix every day. But the game ended, I got in my car, it wasn't my problem. And I felt like I started to get my natural personality back, because when you're coaching, winning is relief and losing is absolute dread. There's not a lot of joy because there's always another game, there's always another recruit, there's always another crisis. So to me, I found a lot of joy in what I was doing. And a lot of my coaching friends were like, don't be nutty enough to come back into this. Enjoy what you're doing, do it. You're happy. And I always have a line, don't blank with happy. You can fill in the blank what that blank is, but don't blank with happy. So I've chosen not to. And here I am 22 years later, and I love what I do, and but I hope people like it, and I hope they'd like me to be around for a little longer.
Oh, you are an icon when it comes to Canadian basketball. So
checks in the mail, Ben.
So let's go back to your time coaching at University of Niagara. You met your wife there. She was a women's soccer coach. And aside from your common bond of coaching, what's one quality of Dina that made you realize she was going to be your ride or die?
I would say that she's very grounded and level-headed, has an incredible sense of humor, kind of a poking, prodding, sarcastic sense of humor. Yeah. I'm more gregarious and happy and fun, where she'll kind of poke the bear a little bit, and I see the bear in the background. I love it. So there was that bond over sports. She was very sympathetic and had a lot of empathy for the stress of the job that I had, because she dealt with the same thing. I just connected with her and connected with her family. They're just wonderful people, very loving and caring. I'm the youngest of 4 boys from an immigrant Irish family, and she's from an immigrant Italian family, so kind of first generation on her mother's side, and her dad, I think it would be second generation. I fell in love with her, and I fell in love with her family, and to this day, they're just incredible people, phenomenal values, and they have their priorities in life in order, and they treat people with respect. When you meet people like that, you always say, this is the one. Because, as you know, a lot of times in relationships, it's natural for young people. People get attracted to the looks, they get attracted to the charisma and the personality and all that. But over a long period of time, it's how compatible you are, and having a friend for life and someone that you love dearly. So I feel like I hit a home run. I feel like I'm the luckiest guy on the face of the earth. And I outkicked my coverage. I guess that would be the I overachieved.
That's incredible, Jack. Absolutely love that story. We're going to shift it a bit. I'm going to give you 2 options, and you have to pick between the 2. Uber or taxi?
When I'm in New York, I go old school and I go with the taxi, because, it's a dying business and I want to support them. Even in Toronto, same thing. I'll try to support them. I think it's important. Those folks are trying to make a living. In many places that I'm traveling where maybe it's harder to get a cab because they don't have them anymore, then I'll do Uber. But if I see a cab, I'll jump in a cab, because, again, they're trying to make a living too.
Fair enough. The reason why I asked that is because I want to know, what can you tell me about sharing a ride with Nelson Millman of the Fan 590?
What can I tell you about sharing a ride? Well, I can tell you that I'll never forget that Chuck Swirsky and I, the day he hired us at the Fan 590, and Nelson was the program manager there, and he, along with the Raptors, made the decision to hire us. I'll never forget when Nelson was in a car with Chuck and I going downtown to the Raptor offices to do a little press conference to announce our hiring. He couldn't believe the conversation that was going on between Chuck and I, and he just looked at us and smiled and said, "You guys are going to kill it on the air." I learned a lot from him. Nelson not only hired me for that, he put me on the air to do a radio show for 2 years on the Fan 590. I did a show with Doug McClain, the former president, GM, head coach of the Columbus Blue Jackets, and also had been the head coach of the Florida Panthers. And he had this crazy idea of putting two coaches together, a basketball coach and a hockey coach. And Doug, to this day, is a very dear friend. I have a home in Florida. My wife goes to a lot more than I do, but I'll go a few times a year just for a few days. But Doug and his lovely bride Jill live a mile from us in Delray Beach. They're there half of the year, then they're in PEI the other half. But he and I are very close. Nelson has an eye for talent. Nelson has an eye for chemistry. He has a feel for what works on the air. And, the combination of Chuck and I on radio became an incredibly popular thing. And Chuck eventually moved on to TV. And then I moved into TV as well. I also still do radio, but it became a very popular thing. And I thank Nelson for his vision. The idea of Doug and I on the radio was brilliant. I didn't know if it would work or not, and people loved it. But doing a daily radio show is a lot. I mean, with all the travel I was doing and doing the Raptors, it's an amazing commitment. My friend Michael Kay, who does the Yankees, he does a daily radio show as well. I don't know how he does it. It's a grind. I mean, doing a show every day, then doing a Yankee game. And as you know, in baseball, it's 162 games. If you have a good team, you have playoffs, and you have rain delays and pitching changes. It's a grind. It was a great experience. It's a lot to get your head around.
Yeah, most definitely. It's a testament to what you do and how much work you have to actually put in. And also, I remember you were on record saying that when an opportunity is presented to you, you kind of just take it and run with it. Doesn't matter if you went to Harvard, Yale, any of like that, as long as you get that opportunity and make the most of it.
You're right. And I think a lot of times you mention that. And when I speak to college students, I talk a lot about that. People get very caught up in the name game in terms of where you go to college and where you graduated from. And it's not only in Canada, it's in the United States, it's all over the world. And I always say to kids, congratulations for your degree from U of T. Congratulations for your degree from Yale. That might help you get the first job, but after that, it's game on. It's what you do and what you bring to the table on a daily basis that is going to define your career. And the same thing in my industry. A lot of times people will get hired based upon, hey, you were a great quarterback, or you're a tremendous goaltender, or you're a great relief pitcher, or you're a Hall of Fame basketball player, whatever. Good for you. Congratulations. That gets you in the door. But now you got to be able to do it. You got to actually be good at what you do and work at it. And, you have the whole idea of lifetime scholarship where you have people that get hired to do this stuff. They don't really work at the job, but they're on because they're a big name. I'm always of the opinion that the people that end up really being good at it are the ones that respect the actual craft they just got into, and they're going to work at it. They're not going to hang their hat on their past credentials and resume. They're going to keep improving and getting better and paying their dues in the new profession that they're in, because it's incredibly competitive and you got to bring your A game and you got to meet the moment.
Absolutely. Like you said, it's one thing to get in the door. It's another thing to actually stay in the house. One of the most memorable moments in Raptors history is your infamous post-game interview with Mr. Hedo Turkoglu, Ball.
You came out tonight early, aggressive. What was different for you tonight in terms of just setting the tone with your game in this game?
Ball.
So going off of that, what's one lesser known memorable interaction that you've had with an NBA player?
Whoa. Oh, man. I have, the Hedo thing was very funny. It was literally like crickets in my head when he said ball. And now you're on live TV and you're like humming. So I said, okay, well, you had the ball in your hands. And he gave me like a 2-word answer after that.
You had the ball in your hands and you made plays.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Hedo Turkoglu.
And he was ticked at Jay Triano for reducing his role in the offense, and I got caught in a proverbial shitstorm, as they say. I'm the poor guy with the mic in my hand. I've had some really funny interviews with players over the years. He was a big, fun person. I love him dearly. Jonas Valanciunas, I would be on live TV. He'd come by and mess my hair up or give me a kiss or, mess up my tie, slap me on the ass, whatever. I mean, just funny stuff. And, you gotta laugh. And it's live television.
And here's our...
There's our guy, Jonas.
How am I looking tonight, all right?
Jonas. Hey, Jack, come on, man. You got to open this up. Feeling as our guy, Jonas Valanciunas, comes all the way through the picture frame. Very good. These are dynamic moves that he is doing right now.
I've had some incredible interviews with a guy like Kyle Lowry who can be grumpy,
Yeah.
But what I find about him, if you ask him thoughtful questions, he'll answer.
So, what prompted the flap out at the back as opposed to the tuck in at the front? Was it a fashion statement or just?
I think it's a fashion statement.
Yeah.
Don't give him some bland, boring question.
Yeah.
Give him a thoughtful question, and he'll answer it. Players, they watch, they listen, they know. I've had overwhelmingly a great time with it. Guys have been really good. I mean, I've interviewed everybody you can imagine. I mean, particularly on the nights, when we travel on TSN and on the road and we don't have a sideline person, I'm that sideline guy that runs out there and does it. So I've had the opportunity to interview pretty much everyone, as well as working like all-star weekends and sitting down with the commissioner and talking to coaches and presidents and top players in the game. It's pretty fun stuff. But nonetheless, after a while, I've been doing it for 22 years, you realize it's just people. They have families, they have lives, they have challenges, just like everybody else. Maybe they have an extra zero at the end of their salary, maybe 2 zeros compared to all of us. But nonetheless, there's still pressures and things that they go through. So I just try to connect as best as I can on a human level. And I think when you do that and people see your sincerity, they get comfortable.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that I love most about you, how you're able to, not just even with players, but with anyone you're sitting down and having a conversation with, you're able to kind of have that connection with them on, like you said, a more down-to-earth human level, because at the end of the day, we're all human. We're all on the same earth.
I would agree with you, and that's my philosophy. I try to have fun with things. I'm not splitting the atom. I'm not solving any major world issue. I'm talking sports. I'm happy to chat about issues. Hey, this is a great opportunity to bring a little joy and bring a little happiness into people's home. Or if I'm on the radio, they're driving around in their car or whatever the case may be. I enjoy it. It's a lot of fun, and sports is an outlet. And I think, looking at what we're dealing with right now, I hope, knock wood, that things work out in Orlando and also things work out in the bubbles for the NHL. And I have my fingers crossed that baseball and the NFL and people like that figure it out. I hope and pray that they're really studying what the other sports are doing and adjusting their protocols. But I think sports has a great way of kind of taking us away from maybe things that sometimes are pulling us down.
Yeah, for sure. Sports honestly is one of the greatest escapes. There's a lot of BS that we go through in our everyday lives. So it's nice to have kind of that release from it, even if it's just for a couple hours when you're sitting down, so that's great. You've called a lot of games over your illustrious career, whether it be in the NBA or the NCAA, but what can you tell me about calling a FIBA game off a TV and Lebanon coach Johnny Newman?
Man, it's funny. I was chatting with Chuck Swirsky about a week ago, and Chuck and I called a game, and Johnny Newman was a coach. I cannot remember the country. And, so we're talking about Johnny Newman, and he was a terrific player back in the day. I had my research done on Johnny Newman, but you're calling it from a studio remotely, kind of like what we're doing now for the games in Orlando. You didn't really give an ISO on the bench, so you really couldn't see too well. So we're talking about Johnny Newman. I was referencing Johnny Newman, and then Chuck gets a note saying that Johnny Newman was fired yesterday. So we had no idea. So we're talking about, hey, Johnny Newman, the coach of, I don't know if he was coach in Lebanon or whatever it was, and they were playing Canada. And we're saying, that thing about Johnny Newman. Meanwhile, he's not even there anymore. He got fired. But that's the challenge of doing a game remotely. If someone doesn't communicate something to you, things like that happen.
Did you have flashbacks to the Sonny Bono moment when that happened, or?
Actually, I don't think we had the Sonny Bono moment yet. I can't recall what came first. That's why I like doing the games remotely for the Orlando situation. I've done enough of these games already that I'm comfortable with it. Now, the only difference now with Orlando is there's no fans at the games, whereas at least if you call it FIBA games or Olympic qualifiers or whatever they are, there's usually fans at the game as well. So there's a little bit of life in the building. But I'll never forget, I called a game a number of years ago with Matt Devlin from TSN. I think Leo was coaching Canada. I don't know if it was an Olympic qualifier or some world championship or whatever. So it was a morning game. I think they were in Brazil or something. And Canada played great and they won the game. And then that afternoon in Toronto, I had a golf tournament. So I finish in Toronto. I finish at TSN and I immediately change in my golf clothes and I go right to the golf course. So I pull up and in the car, and you know how you pull up to a golf course and the kid opens your trunk and the kid goes, "Oh my God, Mr. Armstrong, great to see you. How did you get here so quickly from Brazil?" He had no idea that I was doing it from studio at TSM. And we didn't tell anybody that we were doing it from Brazil or doing it from TSM. We never even mentioned it. So this kid thought I was in Brazil. So the shock on his face was really, really funny. But at the very least, you know that we're not calling the games from Orlando. We're calling it from the studio.
Of course, of course. Jack, before we wrap things up, I want to talk about one of the biggest things that we have in common. That's that we're both children of immigrants, you know, who worked hard to provide us with the lives that we have. You've said time and time again that your mom is your hero. So I want to know, what's one specific lesson that you've learned from your mom that you've passed on to Brian, Kevin, and Tim?
Wow. There's so many. But, you know, I think the most important thing is, you know, treat people with respect, be kind, be courteous, be loving, always let people know you care about them and you love them. Bring a warmth. My mom's a very warm, loving, a faithful person, you know, so I've always raised my sons. I tell them every day I love them. I tell my wife every day I love her. I call my mom every single day.
She's the only one that calls me John. Everyone calls me Jack, and that's obviously the nickname for John, but my mom still calls me John.
Hello.
Hey, Mom, John.
Oh, hi, John. How are you?
Good. How you doing?
Good. All right, honey.
All right, Ma. Love you.
I love you and have a great day.
Okay.
Safe day and enjoy.
All right.
Okay?
All right. Love you. Have a good day.
Love you. God bless.
Okay. All right, thanks.
Bye, honey.
Love
Bye.
you. That's old school Irish, right?
I haven't called her yet today. You're getting in my way, Ben. No, I will call her.
Oh, my bad. My bad.
No, that's all right. I call my mom every day. I'll call her in a little bit when we finish up, and I always finish with "I love you." So I think the thing that I come away, my experience with my mom is that, and I think when my kids talk to my mother, you know, when they talk to grandma, they feel that love. They feel that warmth, that true embrace. You know, my mom was a school lunch lady at PS 238 in Brooklyn, and she served lunch and breakfast every day to Stephon Marbury, who was a kid. And Stephon Marbury came up to me one time. He says, "Hey, Coach," he goes, "Mrs. A, she is so cool, man. She's such a loving person. She always made me feel great every day." You know, that's my mom. You know, you try to instill that in your kids, that I want them to have confidence. I want them to feel good about themselves. I want them to feel loved and appreciated. And I want them as young men to extend that to other people in their lives, that they set out a positive, loving vibe where they're inclusionary rather than exclusionary. I'm a big person that I'm happy to have more people under the tent with me than say, you know, "No, hold out, you can't be part of it." I'm honored and privileged when people come up to me and want to just say hello. I'm happy to spend the time and chat with them. That's how I've been raised. That stuff's really important to me. In the grand scheme of life, that's what you are. I mean, you know, reputation is something, but more importantly, it's what your character is. It's how you live your life on a daily basis, and how you live your life, more importantly, when nobody's watching, doing the right thing every day and treating people right. And even the point you made about being a son of immigrants, both of us. I spoke at an event in Toronto back, I guess it would have been January, and I spoke to the kids about the fact that, hey, why are people from all over the world trying to immigrate to Canada? Why are people from all over the world trying to immigrate migrate to the United States because, though imperfect, and we have a lot of problems in the United States, and there are problems in Canada. They've been talked about extensively. In spite of all that, this is still a pretty great place. To have an opportunity to be in a great place like Canada or a great place like the United States, and to have a chance, and you look at yourself, and I look at myself, sons of immigrants, first generation, I feel blessed of what I've had the opportunity to do in my life. I'm not sure if I could have done what I'm doing in Ireland. It's a great place. I love Ireland. I've been there many times. I feel blessed to have had that opportunity. And my mom went through a lot and raised 4 boys. And I say every time I speak to kids, she's my hero. And everything I have in my life is because of her. She means a whole lot to me.
I love how that love you have for your mother is very evident and that you've been able to pass it on to your sons. It's incredible. What I also loved is that point you mentioned about being inclusive. I'm one of the guys in Scotiabank Arena who runs around and gets the fans all rowdy and crazy.
Yes.
Anytime I've walked by you in that nice Brooklyn accent, I was like, how you doing? And I'm like, oh, hey, Jack. It always brings a smile to my face. Jack Armstrong said hi to me. Oh, look at that.
How hard is that? Seriously, how hard is it to be nice? I think it's nice to be nice.
Yeah.
And how hard is it to take a moment and just recognize somebody, and you just never know the impact it might have. And I reflect in my life when someone took the time, maybe if I was having a bad day, to just say, hey, how you doing? And stop for a second and chat. You just never know the impact that you could have on someone else's life. I try to, as best as I can, I'm not perfect, but you do the best you can. And again, we're in a different world right now, but in the world that did exist, firm handshake, eye contact, spend a little time with people, make people feel loved and appreciated. I think when you're good to people, people are good back to you. When you're good to the world's good back to you. Or, you do the best you can. I think you try to put out as positive and as upbeat and a vibe as you can, and you hope that comes back your way. And if it doesn't, so be it, but you're still doing it because it makes you feel good to help others.
I fully agree with everything that you've said there. It's all about you get what you put in terms of putting out that positive vibe, that positive energy into the universe, and then just hoping it comes back to you. And if it doesn't, that's okay because it makes you feel good to make others feel good.
Well, it's like the Beatles song, and in the end, the love you take is equal to the love you give, right? Yeah. I feel like, hey, man, put a lot of it out there, and you just never know the impact you can make. I think too often, Ben, we spend too much time with our heads buried in our phone.
Yeah.
And we're walking around and we don't see the world around us. And more importantly, we don't see the people in front of us. I'm a big believer is put that phone in your pocket and engage with people and get to know people, because that's the joy in life. I don't get any joy out of that electronic device. I get joy in my interaction with people.
Jack, this has been a great conversation, and I'm glad that I've been able to sit down and have this with you. It's a testament to just how warm of a human being you are. I have no doubt that your mother's completely proud of you and everything that you've done in your career. So let's close this off with some rapid fire. So who's a better chef, Matt Devlin or Chuck Swirsky?
A better chef?
Yeah.
Wow. Neither guy has ever cooked for me. So, but Chuck obviously would serve the salami and cheese. So I would guess I'd give it to him, but I've never had either guy cook for me. So.
Okay, I'll rephrase the question then. Who has a better taste in food?
Oh, I would definitely say Matt. He likes a nice dinner, nice bottle of wine. Matt's definitely one of those guys that he loves the whole go out to dinner thing when we're on the road. Chuck did too, but I would say Matt definitely enjoys it that much more.
That actually segues perfectly into the next question. As an Irishman, what's your go-to drink of choice?
Well, I'm a beer guy. I mean, during the winter time, just one, I'll have a Guinness, but, usually beer. Currently, summertime, not as much, but I like IPAs. They're very tasty, but I mean, pretty much I'm a beer guy. And obviously if I'm out to dinner, I'll have a glass of wine. I don't veer too much from that. I'm pretty basic, Joe Bag of Donuts.
Okay. So when the world opens back up again and, we win our back-to-back championships, I'll be bringing you a nice bottle of Guinness and we'll celebrate and, maybe we'll shotgun one. Who knows?
Well, JJ Redick's a lot younger than I am. Oh, that's the one. That's the one. That's the one. I noticed that those guys are doing that down in Orlando.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's well past my time now. I'm a little too old for that. I don't have that in my arsenal anymore. So I choose to just take my time and enjoy it. I'll leave that to the 20 and 30-year-olds.
Okay, we'll have a casual drink at Real Sports then. How's that?
I like that. No problem.
There we go. So I know you're a really big reader. So what are you currently reading?
I'm actually reading, it's kind of like a philosophy book. It's on Seneca, a Stoic philosopher. It's a lot of just deep philosophical stuff that was given to me by a friend. Probably the best book I read during the pandemic. This is, I think, my 14th book I'm on right now since mid-March. The best book I read by far was a book called Say Nothing, and it's about the troubles in Northern Ireland back in the 60s and 70s and early 80s. Probably the most intense, riveting book I've read in quite a while. It was a New York Times bestseller last year. I can't say I enjoyed it. It was also very disturbing about, the troubles in Northern Ireland and just sad what took place there. But it's a really, really well-written book and well-researched. So that was probably the best book I've read during this period.
Final question. Who's on your Mount Rushmore of the greatest Toronto Raptors of all time?
Well, Kyle Lowry would be number one.
Of course.
The guy's a winner. I read an article by Eric Corrine, I think it might have been yesterday or 2 days ago, about Kyle's Hall of Fame chances. I think people get way too caught up in the statistical analysis of players and not enough in terms of impact on winning and what the guy really means to winning. I hope and pray that when it's all said and done, he ends up in the Basketball Hall of Fame because he deserves it. But I would say he'd be number one on my list. Then I would say Kawhi Leonard obviously had the greatest season as a Raptor and led him to a title. Vince Carter, Chris Bosh, and DeMar DeRozan. Those would be the guys I would probably put up there. Those would be the ones. Tracy McGrady wasn't here long enough, but he would have been if he had stayed. And I firmly believe that if Tracy had stayed, he and Vince, probably for the next decade, we would have been in the Eastern Conference Finals, NBA Finals, and probably have won a title at some point. But hey, you can't cry over spilt milk. We got our title now. I think if I had to add one more, but not on that level, but a guy that was a great player, I would say a guy like Antonio Davis was a terrific player as well. But definitely Lowry, Kawhi, Vince Carter, Chris Bosh, DeMar DeRozan, those guys. And then probably an Antonio Davis would be that next guy. Those are really impactful players in my 22 years with the Raptors.
I feel like that's the consensus top 5 for the greatest Raptors ever. So it's great how it's pretty much a universal opinion. Jack, I want to thank you for the honor of being on the show, but I'm not going to do that because a wise man once said that a handwritten note shows sincerity and extra effort.
I think the handwritten note is such a great communication tool because very few people use it. And I think it makes a great impression on people when you send them a handwritten note. I think it shows sincerity. I think it shows extra effort.
So instead, when this pandemic is over and we're back doing our thing at Scotiabank Arena, the first thing I'm going to do is give you this letter. But for now, I guess I can say thank you, Jack.
Ben, my pleasure. And I look forward to seeing you soon. And I look forward to getting that letter from you. That'll mean that we're both back working and at a place that we're going to have a lot of laughs and a good time. So let's hope and pray that we find a cure for this thing and we find a vaccine for it as well. You and your family, all the best. Stay well, stay safe. God bless.
And that is a Jack Armstrong game day. Get that garbage out of here.